Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the Area Vice President for Citrix Australia and New Zealand, Miss Erin Butler.
Thank you. I'd like to open by starting with an acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the traditional owners on the land in which we meet today, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and recognize their continued connection to the land, water, and culture. We pay our respects to the elders, past, present, and emerging. And now I'd like to welcome you to See Tomorrow. What an exciting day we have planned here with partners and customers who have traveled here from all over Australia and New Zealand. Thank you so much for taking the time to spend the day with us. We assure you it will be worth every moment. As you may be able to tell from my accent, I am not native to Sydney. I moved over from the US late last year with my family. It's been an amazing journey, and I can't thank customers, partners, and the Citrix team for welcoming me. It has made a world of difference, and many of those people are here today with us, so thank you. My sons have already started to say things like tomato and hey mate, and while I haven't kicked my accent and probably won't for quite some time, I thought that would give me some local street cred, but my colleagues have advised me otherwise, so I'll keep working on that. So we have a really exciting day planned today. You know, I tell my team all the time that I think both from an industry perspective as well as what we're going through at Citrix, this is an incredibly exciting time. I've been here for over 13 years now, and what I tell my team is I truly believe that we're going to look back on this time and the industry and the company and say, wow, I was there when. I was there when really exciting and transformational things were happening. Today, we've curated a view of the future, focusing on how technology and innovation are changing the styles of work. Because that's the point, right? Work is changing. Employees are demanding more flexibility, more devices, ease of use, anywhere, anytime access, and the list goes on and is ever changing. We all feel this pressure of rapid digital transformation happening all around us. It has impacted every aspect of our lives, both personal and professional. Technology drives us to rethink traditional styles of work because work is no longer a place. It needs to be as adaptable and dynamic as we are. At the same time, businesses struggle with complexity. Over half of Australian businesses said that IT is more complex or significantly more complex than 2 years ago. This complexity is hard to break down. It's really easy to build up. It's really hard to break down. And it affects productivity, experience, and engagement. We recently worked with the Economist Intelligence Unit to better understand employee productivity and engagement. Through this research, we spoke with more than 1,000 business executives, and we discussed technology and experience and what were their biggest business frustrations. Alarmingly, one of the things we found is that employees are spending more than 25% of their time just searching for information to do their job. Now think about that for a second, 25% of their time. That is a lot of time just switching applications, searching for information, and responding to notifications. The average employee needs to navigate 4 different applications just to execute one single business process. They also have to deal with multiple passwords and interfaces, all adding to the complexity of the user experience. It shifts the focus away from employees doing what they want to do and need to do. 80% of Australian respondents told us that employee experience needs to shift away from controlling the employees to empowering them to work more efficiently. Employees just want freedom to do their jobs. It's really that simple. It's about giving employees time back so they can focus on new and innovative ways to drive your business forward. Companies that prioritize technology and experience outperform their peer companies time and time again. It's a fact. We have an amazing day planned for you today, so we can't wait to go through the agenda and talk to you about what we have to go through. So first, I'd like to say thank you to our sponsors for helping to bring our vision to life. With special thank you to our premier partners, Chrome Enterprise, Fujitsu, LG, and Nutanix. And most of all, thank you to our partners and customers who've joined us here today. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to our Chief Technology Officer, Reilly, who will talk about 10 key thoughts, trends, and technologies for 2020.
Ever since our ancestors picked up rocks and stones and used them as primitive hunting tools to gather food, technology has advanced. Technology has shaped every single one of us in this room today. The processing power in the smartphone in your pocket is significantly more than was available to NASA when they put man on the moon 50 years ago. The lines between technologies, the lines between the adoption of technologies, the value of those technologies to business, and the art of the possible continue to blur with every significant scientific breakthrough. So whether or not technology changes the world, or whether we choose to change the world with technology, is actually a very important point and a topic of very hot and, I believe, very required debate. However, what cannot reasonably be denied is that choices that we make in the technology industry and the choices that you make in your personal and professional lives will in no small part shape the destiny for us all. And in the CTO office at Citrix, we like to think about the future, not just for the sake of thinking, but so that we can imagine the next generation of technologies and services that will enable you to be successful in your business. We also spend a lot of time engaged with customers. One of the most important things that we do is dive deeply into the challenges that customers have, understanding what these great words like digital transformation really mean in a practical sense to business. So today I wanted to share with you some of the things that I think are going to be impactful as you start your planning for 2020. And the great thing about being a futurist is that you don't always have to be right. So first and foremost, we will see the evolution of the CIO role. So for many years, we've had CIOs that operated in control of the Department of No. Remember the days where everybody had the same IT environment. You were expected to go to work to be productive. Yet the new CIO will wear the hat of an innovation officer much more than an information officer. They will bring a technology and a business savvy, and they will be a change agent at the very core, helping to remove those existing final barriers between IT and the business and focusing primarily on the why of technology rather than the how. Hands up those who are tired of hearing the word digital transformation. It's as meaningless as cloud. Today, all global business is in a constant state of change and evolution. And we've all heard how the promise of digital transformation means so much and will change so much in so many industries. Yet it's interesting that when we engage with our customers, it's very rare that we hear a joined-up story of the business strategy and how technology will enable the new go-forward business models in the next 3 to 5 years. So for many enterprises today, we're stuck with legacy technologies and piling on more technology for the sake of technology without thinking about an emerging business model is doomed to fail, just as large IT projects of the past have also failed. And in this evolution of business models, we're also beginning to see the evolution of work. Different expectations of how we do work. What does it mean to do work? How will work be packaged? Who will execute that work? Where from? The gig economy is an emergent model, contingent workforce, where many of the people who execute packages of work going forward may never, ever appear in one of your physical offices. So how do we prepare for the tectonic shift of the gig economy? And how do you provide IT services to people that you may never, ever meet? Our focus will shift towards people-centric computing. And this long sought-after balance between the user demand and the needs of IT will finally be met by delivering an adaptive workspace, one that learns deeply how an individual prefers to work, one that is proactive in nature, and is contextual by delivering the right tools, the right information, the right applications at the point of engagement to drive high levels of productivity. So the people-centric computing approach will actually get technology out of the way and focus on how an individual wants to work and adapt to that individual throughout the life cycle of their employment. And unless you've all been under a rock for the last few years, everybody in this room will have heard about AI. Hands up if you've not heard about AI. Well, when you leave this room and you go home to your significant others and they say, "What did you learn from Citrix?" you can tell them the CTO said, "We're not going to be eaten by robots." I think the chances of us being subsumed into a world of artificial general intelligence before my retirement is extremely unlikely. However, think about what we see every day. Our interactions with voice assistants, our interactions with recommendation engines that get smarter and smarter, helping us to buy more things that we don't really need. So AI we're going to see continue to grow, but in the context of artificial narrow intelligence, in the context of machine learning. And the real question is not so much about how many jobs will be replaced by 2020 and going forward. It will be how many new opportunities are created, how much more innovation will we get from freed up human capital when we can use the machines to our advantage. And perhaps the best instantiation today of machine learning under that framework of artificial narrow intelligence is the bots. So we are and we will continue to be richer than ever in terms of the capabilities of emerging technologies. And yet, when we think about today, even executing some of the simplest of tasks still requires significant understandings of how the entire application works. So if we can use bots to our advantage, if we can let the bots take the menial tasks, this allows us to free up human capital. It frees you up from mundane things that tie up many hours in your work week. It helps you as organizations to deliver better customer service, better customer engagement. And in your personal lives, think about how easy it is now to interact with your own bank or your own insurance company or your own telephone provider. Much of that technology is powered by bots. Many of you in this room are probably not millennials. Most of us grew up in a world where the keyboard and the mouse was the input device. Our relationship with our PC was a keyboard and a mouse. I remember my son got his first iPad when he was sort of 2 or 3 years old. And he began to slide happily through the shapes game where he would try and figure out how you put the square peg in the round hole. Sliding, sliding, sliding. And he was sat with my wife one day and she was reading Cosmopolitan. So he opened the magazine and he walked up to it. And what was the first thing he did? Tried to swipe the pictures on the magazine and then gave up because it didn't do what he wanted it to do. So that paradigm of using the keyboard and mouse as the input device has spanned at least a couple of generations. But more and more rapidly, we're moving into a world where the way that we interact with the machine becomes our own personal choice. It's incredible when you watch somebody's reaction, when you show them an Amazon Echo for the first time. You speak to it. Have we not been doing that for hundreds and thousands of years? And yet, voice in a technological implementation seems to be almost indistinguishable from magic. So whether we talk to the device, whether we touch the screen, or whether we immerse ourselves in a completely different environment, gesture, control, and the physical movement will certainly become the way that we interact, explore, learn, create, and engage. So in some of the trends that we see, rapid adoption of SaaS technologies, replacing existing applications, yet paradoxically we see lots of applications being developed, but being developed in a much different way. So the monolithic architectures of applications of the past given way to microservices-based applications. And these, of course, require brand new development approaches, but also brand new approaches to operations. They will also span public and private cloud environments. But unfortunately, most organizations yet are not set up to adopt true DevOps. In 2020, we'll see the emergence of the DevOps theory continue, but I believe it'll still be a little bit out of reach as those existing silos within traditional departments and the sub-departments fail to close fully. In 2020, we'll finally concede that hybrid cloud will be the predominant go-forward model. For a decade or more, we've argued about public versus private cloud. And while ever it's mildly interesting for a Twitter debate, it's kind of pointless. Because what experience tells us is that we deploy the right tools to the right cloud at the right time for the right reasons. And the reality is that hybrid cloud, probably even in your own organizations, is the model today. You just have to kind of rethink what you mean by hybrid cloud. Not every hybrid cloud requires low-level network connectivity or VPN connectivity between multiple points. Every time you acquire a new SaaS application, whether that be Salesforce or SAP Concur or SAP Cloud, every time you do that, you're adding another cloud to your environment. So the world is, by definition, hybrid cloud. And in many customers, we see that hybrid and multi-cloud choice playing out for reasons of cost, for reasons of compliance, for reasons of performance, and in many cases, for reasons of risk mitigation. So hybrid cloud in 2020 will become the de facto and the standard approach for most enterprise architectures and deployments. So in the recent past, many organizations, including, I would suspect, many of you guys in the room, have spent a considerable amount of financial and human resource focusing on the customer experience, building digital platforms to engage customers, using those digital platforms to retain customers, to improve your customer net promoter score. And yet in 2020, we're going to see a shift in the focus away from the customer experience and much more focused on the employee experience. In some customer conversations that we've had globally, it's very interesting that they've said, hey, we've created this world where our customers now have a much better experience than our own employees. So the ability of a customer to interact with a digital banking platform far outweighs the capabilities that a bank employee has in terms of being productive with the current setup of internal IT. So many digitally mature organizations are already starting to place an importance on the enabling technologies and processes to drive employee experience. One of our observations is that the new CIO that I mentioned earlier, the Chief Human Resources Officer, now working jointly to build an environment that drives employee experience. The research that Erin mentioned has shown us that improved employee experience certainly boosts customer experience as well, but also improves internal net promoter score, extremely important for the war on talent. Because if you can't build an environment that supports the needs of your employees, they're going to go and find that somewhere else. Fundamentally, ease of use and flexibility are key cornerstones, key pillars to enabling employee experience. And in employee experience, we're going to see a new demand for how to track indicators, track behaviors that can prove how these new technologies, new processes, this flexibility in general improves the value to the organization. So whether we're right or wrong We won't know until this event next year. But I want you to just sort of use these as a thinking point as you go through the rest of the day, as you listen to some of the Citrix strategy, as you get to know us a little bit better and where we're heading through the rest of today. Extremely important to understand that Citrix is also on a journey, just like each and every one of you in this room. You know, it's actually a great time to be in the technology industry. Not only is it a great time to be alive, but, you know, we're kind of standing on this crossroads of sort of the fourth industrial revolution, where the speed of technology, the way that technology gets shaped to impact business, is going to be like nothing we've ever seen before. There simply is no historical precedent.
Welcome. I'm absolutely delighted to be here. You know, as I was traveling here over the weekend from the West Coast of the US, the world was busy celebrating the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. Something I vaguely remember from my childhood, sitting cross-legged on the floor watching a grainy TV signal on my parents' black and white TV. And as I walked through the airport, I was watching these teenagers looking at that same grainy footage on their laptops and on their cell phones and on their Bluetooth headsets. And to me, it sort of encapsulates that journey we've been on with technology transformation and the doors that it's opened for all of us and the constant advances that we've seen. And really, there continue to be remarkable advances that really drive significant change in the capabilities that really matter to us. The number of us that are now connected on an ongoing basis to the platforms and the technologies that let us do brand new things. The shifts that are occurring seem to have almost no bounds and are accelerating at even more rapid rates. And this really is changing the way that we think about that technology platform, enabling the new things that we can do inside businesses. And the pace at which these changes are occurring, it continues to accelerate. So if you take that sort of perspective on the world, you see, and I tend to see as a glass half full kind of person, a lot of enormous potential in the technology. At the same time, you know, it's not that easy running business today. We see shortages in labor. We see challenges to get the right talent. And even the talent that we have, data would indicate, isn't always the happiest that it could be at work. And one of the things that we've heard from some of the other speakers today that continues to be a challenge is that it's really difficult to give people the right tools that they need to do their jobs. And despite the fact that we keep layering new technology on top of new technology, these changes, you know, don't always lead to the outcomes that really matter to us. At the same time, in our personal lives, we've seen the future in some way. The way that mobile apps work, the way websites work today, whether it's booking a holiday for the family, researching a product that you want to buy, or making a decision about travel or something else. All very trivial and easy things for us to do. I would contend that most of us would have an easier time booking a flight than maybe booking a conference room in one of our own buildings. And so the tools, sort of the genie is out of the bottle. People have seen what's possible with the technology, and that's the new benchmark against which they're measuring what we deliver to them in their work environment. So if you look at the consumer platforms and the things that they deliver today, feeds of information that are tailored to me, that are curated, that guide me through the things that are most relevant and important to me, things that are pushed to me, and things that I subscribe, but that combination of a collection of content and a feed that makes the most sense to help me do, you know, what I'm trying to do. Notifications. There's a lot of stuff going on. We heard about all the channels that we all check every morning when we arrive, you know, either in our office or when we pick up our phone, whether it's text or social groups or email. Notification is kind of key, and our phones today do a better job of guiding us, our mobile experiences in the consumer world, than many of our, I will say, enterprise applications do. And then not only is there the sense of notification, but also that one-click action, that thing I need to do, check in for the flight, book the ticket. All these things that have now become simplified and focused tasks. And then last but not least, as Christian mentioned, recommendation engines. Whether it's the books I read or the TV shows I watch or the places, the restaurants I might visit, the more I interact with the platforms, the better they become about tailoring experiences to me. And then we come back to work. And all these things that I have become accustomed to that define a modern way of interacting with the technology and the platform are absent. Now, it's not like we're standing still in enterprise and in software development. We've invested vast sums in moving to these modern SaaS applications and modern platforms. We've all been modernizing as the journey from mainframe through to PC and now to cloud and to SaaS. However, we really haven't solved a problem that's at the very heart of what most of our customers and employees tell us they need. I like to use the analogy of the photocopier. We all have one of these somewhere in our office that you go visit occasionally. And there's a lot of buttons. A lot of buttons that turns out, rarely, if ever, need. I'm kind of the green button guy. And if I need 2 copies, I press it twice. But think about it. We've built this device. I would argue that this is actually somewhat optimized in that at least they've made the button green and really big. A lot of software that I use, the buttons are all the same size, and the one I want is hidden among another bunch of buttons that I don't need. And this perpetuated model that we have of layering new capability and new sophistication, which from an IT perspective we think of as new capability and new value, it's all just getting in the way of finding the green button. We have people who come to work every day, and that's their job, is to be efficient, to be productive, to be effective, to focus on what's most important, and think about all of the distractions that we have embedded in the experiences that we've given them. When we survey employees, we hear common refrains across the globe. I have too many apps. I spend too much time switching, and I'm not getting enough usage out of the apps. And these problems really aren't getting solved by adding more apps, by giving people more choices. In some ways, we're just not curating the experience in a way that allows employees to be effective in getting their job done and focusing on what's most important. We've really taken this problem to heart. And we've focused a lot at Citrix on delivering applications and being part of the value to customers, of understanding what that experience is. But frankly, up until now, I would say we haven't expressed a strong opinion about what those applications do themselves. At Citrix, we really help you get at the applications you need on any device, anywhere, anytime. But we deliver the application pretty much as it was designed by the application vendor. What you're going to see as we talk through the rest of the day and as you learn more about the work we're doing at Citrix is we're actually taking a stronger point of view about how to make employees more productive and more successful. We're focused on 3 key dimensions of the work experience. The first one is, what is that employee experience? What does it look like? And how can we improve it? And then we recognize that there are 2 essential attributes of not just our technology and our platform, but of the way that large organizations like yours are thinking about the business. I need to do it securely. I want to offer all this flexibility. I want people working from a coffee shop. I want them working from home. I want them working on a device that they chose. But I have to protect the organization. I have to protect the data. I have to protect the sensitive information we have. And frankly, I need to protect the employees because there's a lot of risk out there in some of the work patterns that, if they're unsupervised, can lead to risk for the organization. And finally, in IT, I still want to provide choice. Yes, we don't want to offer everything, but as an organization that delivers platform and infrastructure value to you, we want to enable this across the widest array of devices, the widest array of applications, and the widest array of platforms. And so what we've been doing at Citrix is reorganizing how we're grouping together our technologies, focusing on that workspace experience, leveraging our understanding of the network and basically traffic and security, and finally using analytics to power both the experience inside the workspace and also the overall security of the environment. And so this is a very different way for us to think about bringing together individual products with much stronger focus on a solution that will help meet your needs in the organization. You know, one question that I often ask organizations or companies when I talk to them about is, tell me about the experience that you're delivering to your employees. What are they going to consume? I think about those kids that I saw in the airport with their iPads and their Chromebooks and their phones and their Beats Bluetooth headphones, and thinking about trying to attract them into Citrix or into any other organization. What is their expectation around technology? What is that experience that you're going to deliver that allows people like that to come in and basically leverage what they already know about technology in the world and hit the ground running in your organization and be productive? You know, with the talent war, I certainly see it today when I bring new employees into the organization. As they walk to my office for their interview, you can tell what they're doing. They're scouting. They're looking around at the work environment. They're trying to figure out who else is here. What's the demographic? What's the technology platform? What kind of conference facilities do you have? Is this going to be a cool place to work? They stop by the cafeteria. You can tell. I mean, this is part of how modern employees think about that experience. And so really, we've been thinking about how to deliver a new modern workspace experience that really helps people on this journey that we're going through, a journey that Christian described. The first part being how to organize all this vast quantity of data, information, and applications, and put some structure around it that makes it easy for me to find the thing that I need to get started with. The second part is what I talked a little bit about in modern consumer platforms, where you get guided a little bit. Whether it's a recommendation engine that says, if you like this book, you might like this one. Or if your kids enjoyed this movie, they might like this one. So how do you guide work, not guide social and entertainment experiences? And then the last part, how do we automate it? How do we take the menial task away without actually taking away what the important value is that organizations and employees really need to focus on? So really what we're doing is taking a fresh look at the infrastructure and the applications that large organizations have deployed today. And we are basically inverting the model. We're going to take what we've learned from mobile platforms and consumer platforms, where we take a task-based, activity-based, and a focused work view of what needs to get done, and effectively figure out how to disassemble these large, complex applications that have vast quantities of functionality, and instead deliver it in a much more consumable form for individual users inside the organization. And so what you're going to see us do, and we're actually building this year, is we're delivering a workspace that really takes all of this great information from all of these applications and structures it in an experience that lets you really take advantage of modern techniques for presenting information and leverage all of the investment you've made in your existing applications, but deliver it in a brand new experience to the users. And I think it's really important that when we talk about these transformations that occur in large organizations, you have to acknowledge the legacy of the business that you're in, the legacy of the applications you have, and the obligations you have to operating the business as you transform. And so I think it's really important that this is not a strategy to abandon what you already have. This is a strategy to leverage what you have as a new platform for building new capability inside the organization. So let me actually walk you through what we think that new experience is going to look like in the workspace from Citrix. Well, first of all, it should look a little bit like a more modern application. You'll get to see a layout that has a big feed and some maybe activities. And in fact, one of the things that we're centering on here is the idea of bots and assistants. How can we help people get started faster on the task they want to accomplish? I want to reserve a conference room. I want to book time off. I want to fill in an expense report. I want to requisition some new piece of equipment. Can I do that very easily? And then I think about all the things that I do on a daily basis that show up here in this big feed in the center of the workspace. I have approvals that come to me. I get notified about documents that matter to me. I get to initiate activities and get notified when they get completed. I get told when I am mentioned in a conversation in another application that matters to me. And so this feed here is a collation of all of the things that matter to me. And on the left side, if you look, you'll see the icons from the source applications. In this case, Workday, SAP Concur, ServiceNow, applications that we all use every day. But not only is this a passive feed where I get to see things, it's also a place where I get to drill in and actually take action. Right here, I can look at the detail on this expense report. I can approve it. I'm done. I didn't lose my context. I didn't switch into a new application. Let's talk for a moment about those big applications, the Workdays and the SAP Concurs and the Salesforces and the dynamic CRMs. Amazing platforms for business. And there are certainly people in your organization who need to use every last piece of function in those applications. If you're in the employee onboarding part of a human resources department, you will use more of the functions of Workday. If you're in a finance department, you probably care deeply about some of the procurement functions that are in Dynamics or in some of those other SAP applications. But if you're a regular manager or an employee like me who's trying to use the green button, I want to approve the expense report or I want to file an expense report, I don't need, in fact, it's a distraction, all the rest of that application. And I still want to actually be compliant with the organization, so I want to use single sign-on and have my identity get associated with all the activities. I want to have an easy way to move between tasks that span multiple applications. And so this application infrastructure that we're building is designed to extract and elevate the most important activities out of your most critical business applications and put them in front of the users in a much more direct and consumable way. Of course, we continue to maintain access to everything that matters to you, including all of your desktops, your apps. There are times when you do actually want to start what you do by launching an app. Although more often than not, I want to start what I do by completing a task, completing an action. And so this workspace brings together all of these actions, all of these activities for all of the applications that matter to me. We're building this and we'll deliver it in this calendar year. So this is the current set of technology innovations that are coming from Citrix this year. So as I described, we have this three-part investment in our portfolio. The workspace, which I've shown you here. And if you look closely at the workspace, you'll discover that the security features in the workspace and the productivity features in the workspace come from our networking infrastructure and from our analytics capabilities. So all three together combine to deliver that great workspace experience to users. And if you take a look at some of the things that we've done recently in the area of workspace, these are the announcements that we made at our customer conference earlier this year of new capabilities in the workspace, the top of which, of course, is on the list, the intelligent features that we're delivering in the workspace today. For analytics, we continue to invest in a broad analytics platform that is powered by machine learning and artificial intelligence, runs on a cloud platform where we collate all the data from Citrix environments and from your environments, and are able to make predictions about security, help protect your users, make predictions about performance, and help isolate and identify challenges that you may have with performance. Most recently, we announced the availability of this service in both the EMEA and APJ regions. So it's available here locally also. And then finally, in networking, we continue to innovate both, I will say, in the application experience, things like our HDX support for Microsoft Teams. We know that's an application that many of you are deploying inside your VDI environments. And just like we did for Skype for Business, we're now replicating that same set of innovations and capabilities to really power and drive a great Teams experience. We're also focused very much on SD-WAN and on delivering a really great branch experience for all of you that have large distributed branch networks. Specifically, we've done work with Microsoft and with the Office 365 team to really optimize the traffic flow for Office 365 directly back to the infrastructure, the Microsoft core infrastructure. And we've seen phenomenal gains and returns from this. And so really, if you step back and think about that sort of broad view of the portfolio, not only are these three big category areas where we continue to invest, but together they combine to deliver this great solution of this modern workspace experience. There you are. I thought you'd all left. It is kind of weird when you're talking and the entire audience disappears, I do have to tell you. Let me close by saying we keep talking about the future all the time. And I think all of us, to some extent, one of the privileges of being in the technology industry is, frankly, we all get to live a little bit in the future. You're ahead of your customers. You're ahead of the partners that you're delivering technology to. But the reality is, we've kind of caught up with the future. The future is sort of here. All those things that we talked about as the promises and the capabilities. We're, as Christian said, we're at that crossroads. We're at that precipice where it really is up to us to decide how to take that technology forward. The platform that we've created for ourselves, the transformation that's occurred from that 50-year-old grainy black and white TV to a kid watching a 4K HD version of the same video in an airport with Bluetooth headset on a Wi-Fi network. It's just staggering what the underlying technology is enabling us to do. There's so much power in our hands. And as Christian said, where we take it next, how we decide to deploy it, that's probably the most exciting thing for me. So welcome to the future. I think we're all here together today. And I think as you visit the exhibit floor and meet with some of our partners, I think you'll see other glimpses of the future also. Thank you so much.
So we have a lot more in store for you today. Thank you so much to our customers, our partners. Outside of the exhibition hall, we've really tried to rethink and reimagine the exhibition floor so you can see how work can be powered in the future. And this isn't just about Citrix. This is about innovation across the landscape. And so hopefully you can immerse yourself throughout the day, meeting partners and other customers and peers, and learning about the new technologies on the exhibition floor. We also have 3 tracks. So the first is a business track focused on the future of work. And then we have 2 technical tracks, one focused on application experience and the other focused on employee experience. We couldn't be more excited to spend the day with all of you and look forward to hearing your thoughts and feedback on the day. So enjoy and please have a great, wonderful day.